With the Chiefs having another embarrassing offensive performance today against the Raiders, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have to be left scratching their heads looking for answers. Once again, you have another game where nothing seems to be working in terms of running the football or passing the football. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to be thinking this game looks very eerily similar to that Super Bowl 55 loss against the Bucs, where Mahomes was running for his life behind a makeshift offensive line all game. The difference between then and now is the Chiefs actually have a decent O-line nowadays. Well, outside of their offensive tackles. You got an offensive rookie tackle in Wanya Morris who's filling in for the injured Donovan Smith, who got beat like a drum all day by Malcolm Connaughton. You also got Juwan Taylor, who's been paid like the best right tackle in football, and he plays like absolute shit, getting beat all game by Max Crosby to the point that every time Mahomes drops back in the pocket, it feels like it's inevitable that he's going to be under duress with no time to throw the ball. I'm sorry, but however the season plays out for the Chiefs this year, there's no question that Brett Veach signing Juwan Taylor to that massive of a contract over picking up skill position players at the wide receiver position was a huge whiff. You literally made him the second highest paid right tackle on average behind Lane Johnson at $20 million a year on average. And the dude has the most penalties in the NFL by a wide margin at 17. 8 false starts, 6 holding penalties. It's just unacceptable for a player who's been in the league as long as he's been. Not to mention the fact that it looks even worse when you consider the fact that Brett Veach let Andrew Wiley walk on a 3-year, $24 million contract to the Washington Commanders, which would have saved them at least $12 million on average instead of signing Taylor. Yes, Taylor is a better tackle than Andrew Wiley, but for the money that Taylor is making, I'd rather go with the cheaper option than Wiley, who has already proved he could be good enough to survive on this team. Hell, he literally was the starting right tackle all season last year when they won the Super Bowl, so I don't understand the move. When you move on to the running back position for the Kansas City Chiefs, your two running backs, Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this game only combined for 32 yards on 15 carries. When you consider the fact that this offense has struggled with pushing the ball down the field and them taking away Kelsey and doubling him and bracketing him in most third down scenarios, having 32 yards on 15 carries at your running back position is just completely unacceptable at this point in the season. And yes, I understand that Pacheco went down with a concussion this game, but that doesn't really change the fact that he wasn't doing anything before the injury anyways. And seeing as Patrick had 10 carries on 53 yards just shows you that they had nothing going down the field, as most of the time Mahomes was resorting to having to try to improvise with his legs and make plays outside of the pocket. Hell, even on plays where Mahomes does have time to throw the ball, there's not a soul of a person open down the field. And when guys do get open and actually create some separation, which is very rare, they're dropping the ball in key situations where the offense needs a play to be made. I mean, game after game after game, you have key drops in pivotal games that have cost the Chiefs wins this season. Kadarius Toney is one wide receiver to point out, as his mistakes versus the Lions dropping the ball late in that game cost the Chiefs that win as well. And his mistakes against the Bills, dropping passes early on and having a ridiculous offsides penalty that ended up costing them the win. Hell, you even have MBS, who's done nothing all year long and has been terrible and probably having the worst year of his career, doing nothing every game besides running wind sprints and dropping key deep balls, along with never being on the same page with Mahomes as a whole. When you really think about it, who would have thought at the beginning of the year Mahomes and this Chiefs offense would lose 4 to 6 games they've lost with the ball at the end of the game needing to score to win? If someone would have told me this, I would have looked at them like they were crazy. But when you watch the Chiefs offensively game by game, it's their sad reality. Brett Veach has got to catch some strays as well when you consider the fact that he overpaid at the right tackle position, leaving them virtually no money to pick up any veteran wide receivers. With Odell Beckham Jr. sitting available along with DeAndre Hopkins being available during this past offseason, not picking one of these guys up was an incredibly bad blunder, and it may end up costing the Chiefs a Super Bowl this year. Now, I know some people would say, well, those guys aren't number ones, and these people are right. They're not. But with how bad the Chiefs receiving corps has been this season, I literally could argue with you that outside of Rashee Rice, who's a damn rookie on the Chiefs don't even have a number 2 caliber receiver on this team. Now, even with how bad the receiving core has been this season, I have to call a spade a spade. Mahomes has not been great this season. He's actually played below his usual MVP standards this year, and is actually having the worst year of his career statistically, from passer rating to touchdown to interceptions. He's thrown the most interceptions of his career this year in a season. He's just not been playing well. And when you watch the tape and watch the all-purpose 22 film, it's a lot of games where he's missing reads. He's not going through his progressions. He's not processing things clearly. And yes, with the receiving core being as bad as it is, that does play a factor as to why his play has really dropped off. Maybe the confidence in what he's seeing is not there. He doesn't have confidence in the players that are around him. But at the end of the day, he's just got to play better, clean football if he wants to get far in the playoffs this year. Otherwise, they'll be going home very, very soon. Now, to end this video off, I want to state that I got a lot of admiration for Patrick Mahomes and his gifts. I think he's the most talented QB that I've seen play the position since I've been watching football. But at the end of the day, even he can't camouflage all of the issues of the Chiefs' offense. And at the end of the day, also, something's got to give with this team. There's been a lot of firsts this season for the Chiefs, and not the firsts that you like if you're a Chiefs fan. The first time that they lost to the Broncos under Mahomes' regime, along with the first time losing to a divisional opponent on the road. It's also the first time that the Chiefs have lost more than 5 games in the season since Mahomes took over as a starting quarterback. And seeing as they won't get the first seed this season, it's most likely going to be the first time that Mahomes plays a road playoff game in his career, which is astounding considering he's in his 7th year in the league. I see a lot of fans and analysts trying to find a scapegoat for the Chiefs' offensive woes, either blaming the wide receiver core, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and even Matt Nagy. But the bottom line is, you can cast blame upon all these different people, but passing blame is not going to fix their problems. And when the season winding down, the clock is ticking on whether or not the Chiefs can right the ship heading into the playoffs. If they don't, they'll likely be going home before getting to the AFC Championship game, which will mark another first that I know Mahomes does not want to see happen. Thank you all for watching, and as always, until we meet again.